Let me show you how to make this mess of a mirror look as nice as this one. In this episode of Aston1936.com, I'm going to show you how to refurbish one of my driver's side mirror. And you can see here, I've already got it disassembled. I've shown you how to do that in a previous video. I've already removed it from the car, obviously. I've shown that in another video. But really what my end game was, is that I was really disappointed with how bad the mirror mount finish was starting to look. So here's my refinished one, and here's what my driver's side one looks like. And you can see that the actual plastic of the mirror housing holds up well. This isn't the problem, it's actually the single stage finish here that's deteriorated. So I originally set out, I was going to take all this apart because I was going to take this and get it professionally repainted. And then I had a bit of an epiphany one day. I had the mirror, it was upside down like this, and I was messing with it, and I noticed that the bottom finish didn't look quite as bad, and I started to wonder, was this just paint, single stage paint without clear on top of it? And that's exactly what it is. This is just a single stage painted finish, that's sort of a satin black that matches the mirror assembly, the mirror plastic, and I could actually bring this back to life without repainting it at all. Which is a much better solution. So the supplies I end up using is some masking tape, a nice stack of, maybe not, you don't need to be the most pristine microfiber towels. And then I'm using some Chemical Guys paint correction polishing compound. So I've got a compound, so 34 is a little more coarse, 36 is a little finer, so it's now a cutting polish. And then I'm going to use a 38 as a final polish. So more or less I'm going to use the exact same types of tools you would if you were just trying to bring the paint back on an old car. But I'm not going to use a machine. I'm going to use some hand polishing pads. So these are Meguiar ones. There's other brands, you can probably get them from Chemical Guys, but these are yellow compounding pads. And you're going to watch me bring the finish back to life in some time lapse. And then to keep it way healthier for the future, I'm going to apply some modern technology to it. I have some Armor Shield 9 from Avalon King. This is ceramic coating. And this is going to give a long-lasting protection to the outside of the restored paint. And I'm going to use this also to restore the plastic, and you'll see a few of those steps as well as I go along. I also need some gloves when I'm doing that because you do not want to get ceramic coating on your hands. Over here, you've also got the other parts we're going to worry about. I'm going to give the mirror cap just a good, clean up in the sink, give it a good scrub on the inside and out. I've got the mirror glass. I'm also, while I've got it apart, I'm probably going to use a toothbrush and give it a good scrub to get all the crud or any built up stuff off of that. Now, I have the inside wind cheater. That was the plastic cover that we took off when we were removing the mirror. This plastic is also similarly faded, but you'll see that I'll be able to bring it back to life with the Armor Shield ceramic coat as well. I have this little plastic insert that is part of the assembly as well. We're going to do that with some Armor Shield to make that nice and black again. And then we're going to actually clean up the whole plastic body and ceramic coat it. So when we're done, hopefully it looks as perfect as this. This is probably better looking than it did when it came out of the factory. So let's get started on getting it done. So the first thing I want to do is, since I'm going to be working next to the rubber seals here, I'm going to try to get some masking tape in just to keep the compound and everything from getting all over the black weather stripping seal. All right, and then I'm going to push as much of the wiring harness as I can through so that I get as much slack as I can to keep that as far away as I can. So, first place I'm going to start is on the bottom here. Now the worst condition is the top, but I want to kind of get a feel for how this is going to work. So I'm going to grab the 34 grit compound and put it on my mankiest of pads, because this is where you're going to see the most paint come off. I'm going to season my pad a little bit first, spread it around. Okay, that's plenty. So this is like toothpaste with, pumice in it. And then I'm just literally going to go at it. And this is elbow grease time. You want to remember that you need to get around the ends. All right, so you can see that we got black coming off of the single stage paint onto the pad, which is what you'd expect. And now let's just have an initial look, and if we've brought the paint back at all. And already you will be enjoying the fruits of your labor. That's remarkably improved. It's back to almost the same type of finish as the plastic. Now it's a little flat because we're using such a coarse compound to cut off the first layer of dead paint. But now you see the process. Black paint on my hands is coming off, and we're just going to basically continue that with the 34 compound, working my way all the way around the unit. The assembly, and when I'm up on the top, I'll probably do a stop, and we'll have a look at that as well. So I'm gonna, my first pass with the 34 across the bottom side of things, it's all starting to come back just like I had hoped, and it's starting to look black. So now I want to change my focus to do my first pass across the really deteriorated finish. I even have like some sort of rock chip or something that kind of grazed off the paint. I hope that polishes out as well. So same process, let's just get in it and attack it. Okay, well, let's see how the process is doing here. Just wipe it off. And that is coming along great. So you can already see the difference between the first pass with the 34 coarse and then the original condition it was in. That ding that was on here has polished completely off, and all that's left now is just more elbow grease. But here's my warning. Don't try and use a dual action polisher. There are so many hard edges, and I don't know how thin the single stage paint is. I could see me burning through one of the corners or lips or something. So I'm just gonna stick with take an hour, have a beer, do it in the garage, and take your time, do it really thoroughly, and you'll be rewarded. So let's carry on, and we'll cut to when I'm finished the 34 pass. So another 10 or 15 minutes have passed of me sitting there polishing away. My pad is now black by comparison, which is what you're expecting, as all the dead single stage paint layer comes off. But you can see I have a nice sort of satin finish that's come back around. It's really in the sort of same class as the plastic now on the finish. And so that's it for the pass with the 34, the coarse material. So I'm going to take the 34 rag, the 34 pad, and that's done. I'm going to get another polishing pad, and now I'm going to go at it again with the 36. So you're not going to be seeing the dramatic improvement when you're starting to do successively finer and finer polishes. What you're going to be getting is you're cutting away the 34 grain swirls with 36 grain swirls. So it'll get, it'll look a little bit better. You're going to notice it, but it's not that dramatic, change that we saw before. So to the time lapse, and here we go. All right, so let's take a look and see if we can see a visible difference. Fresh microfiber towel. Now the pad isn't turning nearly as black, which is also a sign that we've got most of the dead paint off. And like I said, it's going to be slightly perceivable. You're going to see it yourself. It may not show very well on camera, but we should just be getting a more even satin finish as we go through finer and finer grades of polish. Not going to bore you with the time lapse for doing all the little groovy bits, so we'll cut back in a second when I'm finished the pass with the 36. Well, not much to see here. I've finished another 10 or 15 minutes working with the 36 pad. You can see it took off considerably less paint, just, but it's an even finish. I've just gotten all the way around, the bottom and the back and underneath. So I'm pretty much finished with the 36. I'm going to bust out the 38 now for the final pass. I'm not going to bore you even with a time lapse at the beginning. I'll just cut to what it looks like when I'm finished with the 38. So about an hour of elbow grease, and here's the result. So I've done all 3 steps of the polish, the 34, 36, and the 38, and I'm pretty pleased with how that's turned out. Now we haven't done the ceramic coat yet, which is going to make it even one step more awesome, but we have a nice even color base that'll be underneath the ceramic coat. It very much matches the plastic now. So I'm going to clean my hands up because this is full of all sorts of waxes and polishes, and then we're going to get on to doing the ceramic coat step. So now it's time to prepare the parts for the ceramic coat. So I would say read the instructions and see what they want to have done before you apply the ceramic coat. For the Avalon King Armor Shield, basically everything needs to be clean, and then you give it a wipe down with an alcohol solution. So I'm using about a 70% isopropyl alcohol mixed with water, just like you would use if you were putting on PPF film or whatever. We just want to remove any of the waxes now that might have been in any of the compounds or any of the hand oil or anything that's on the inner wind cheater. There's plastic around the glass mirror frame. There's the plastic around the on the mirror body itself. I'm going to clean up this. I'm going to clean up this little piece, and I'm even going to take my mirror cap over and give it a wash. So whatever you need to do, head out and do it to get it prepared for ceramic coating. And here's a little B-roll of me taking care of mine. Well, all the parts are cleaned up now. I'm giving them all a wipe down with the microfiber and the alcohol. Cleaned up some of them over at the sink, make sure I didn't have any dirt on them. I've cleaned everything that I want to have ceramic coated to make it darker, blacker. but sort of the rule with ceramic coating, or even, you know, if you were waxing, if it isn't clean now, whatever's on there is going to get sealed in. So this is the time to just be methodical, get it as clean as you want it to be, and then you get to have the fun and do the step I'm going to do now. So my mirror caps are PPF'd and ceramic coated already, so I'm not going to be doing this part. But you know, you could, if your car didn't have that already done to it. The place I'm going to probably start, just because it'll be most interesting to watch, is we'll do this interior wind cheater panel. So when you're working with Armor Shield, it's a good idea to have a glove on, because you don't want to coat your skin with this stuff. And with most ceramic coats, there's an applicator pad. This is just a really fine microfiber, and it takes hardly any ceramic coat material to actually get the coating on. You're just putting on the thinnest of films. So what I've tended to do is I just put a few drops on the corner of my microfiber here, and that's going to be enough to do most any of it, the stuff we're doing. So you can already see it makes quite a difference to the finish of this sort of matte black, kind of faded plastic. And you do not want to get the ceramic coat material on your skin. And you don't really have to work it in. It's not like so this is just, you know, sort of like doing wax on your car. You just need to get it applied, and then we're going to let it sit for a bit, and then we're going to buff it off. So just, you're looking to get, you know, a decent coating of it across everything. And then take yourself a clean microfiber, give it a quick buff. So that's done a nice job. It's brought the matte finish out. Now I had a few areas that had been chafed, but those are actually covered by the door panel. That's actually the door panel rubbing on it, and this is where the door seal rubs on it. But this area, this general area where the plastic is just out and exposed, is now a more deep black. It's more even colored. And I'm going to do this little piece under here now. Just put a refresher drop on there. This is the lower trim that covers the screws on the bottom of the unit. The only people that are really going to see this are all you YouTubers on camera, and the ants looking up at the bottom of the Aston. That makes it look nice and new again. So I'm also going to do the black around the edge of the mirror frame. And so it can get on the glass, it'll just buff off, but it'll make the sort of the gray black color of the mirror frame go back to all black. Sort of like your Armor All, you know, applying Armor All, you know, the stuff that brings your plastic back. It usually fades after a week. Well, this doesn't fade after a week. This will last years. So it just wipes away off the glass. But our black is a little deeper black now. Okay, so we've done the ancillary pieces. Now it's time to get on to the big parts of the show. So I'm going to do the plastic here for next. Wow, that's really shining up nice. And now also make sure you get inside the mirror opening, because when you look past the glass, there's this nice black area in here, which is probably hard to see on camera since everything's shiny black. But you can see why you want to have all this clean in advance, because otherwise you'd just be trashing your ceramic coating towel. And this is where you get the big payoff. Really bring it back to look better than factory new, I think. And you can see just how a drop of that ceramic coating goes a long ways, perfecting the view for the ants looking up. So now that we have that coated, let's polish this one up. It should, just a little bit of the gloss comes off, but it should be a nice dark black satin plastic finish, which was the original finish. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now we can come over and buff off our, see just slightest bit of shine, the wet part disappears, but you can tell there's a nice coating on there now, evening everything out. And there we have it. That looks a lot better than where we started. And the two finishes pretty much match exactly now, which was the whole goal, was to make it look good again. So next up, let's reassemble this thing. Okay, let's start putting it back together and reassemble it. It's pretty much the reversal of the process, just a little tip or two to add along the way. So I'm going to start closing up the gap on the electrical harness again. So you can pull that through. What I want to do is I put this rubber plug back in the hole. I want to make it just go a little easier, so I have a little silicone spray, a little bit of a coating, making sure I've got that rubber plug back all the way in and seated so that we don't get any water in through there or any wind noise. Now I can take my 3 screws that we took out earlier, and I might just give them the slightest dab because they're feeling a little bit of corrosion on them. Just a little bit of lubricant, a little drop of engine oil or whatever you might have around the shop. Get your first one in. Line up your next hole before it's tight. Your second one started. Get your last one started. Don't know if these have a torque spec. I'm doing the infamous Aston 1936 snug. All right, clean up around there. Once those are snug, now you can refit your cover. All right, so next up, we're going to put the rear cover back on, and this is just careful realignment. And squeezing it together. See, our little plugs are all the way back through on the inside. It's pretty easy, just giving it a nice firm hug. And then final step is going to be the mirror glass. And so we have the, I recall, the red was the top, the black was the bottom. Make sure those have connected properly. And then the process for getting it hooked back up, we sort of have to get this lip and this little series of slots lined up, and then we're doing the same on this side. So a little bit of trial and error. There we go. Not hard at all. Wipe off your ceramic coated fingerprints if that's what they were. That is looking a whole lot better. So there's the twins. Really consistent between the two sides now. They're back together, almost ready to go on the car. Now, the last step that I'm going to cover, you may or may not have to do. You can see that this original, I'm going to look at the one I haven't messed with yet. Aston had this mirror off and applied all sorts of extra foam, sound. I think they're trying to stop wind whistle or sealing material here. This is all perished as well. Now you may not have that on your car, but I'm going to do just a little bit here in the final segment where I'm going to peel this off, and I'm going to show you some updated material we can use to replace that to maybe get a better weatherproof seal and sound seal. If you don't have this and you don't have anything to worry about, you're done. So let's get onto that real quick. So the first step is peeling off, kind of looking at where it all is, so you have an idea. But you know, they made mistakes here. They've got foam over these mounting pegs, which make it thicker, and so this won't sit properly on the car. So I'm going to just methodically start working my way and peeling off all this old foam and get it down just to the original materials that were underneath. So I've spent about 30 minutes and I've scraped off all the old foam insulation that they'd had added on. And now you can just see this is the original rubber gasket that seals between this and the door frame. And they'd added all these layers to this and also to the back of the wind cheater, which sits on the back side of this. So basically I'm going to use some of these more modern sort of urethane foam automotive insulation materials. They're probably 15 or 17-year newer technology. And I have some of this 1 inch wide by maybe 1/8 inch thick, and I have some, 1/4 inch by maybe 3/16 of an inch. And I'll have links to this in the description below if you care. You may not need to do this on your car, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and sort of in semi-high speed. You can follow along if you decide that you need to do it with your car, and I'll show you the results in about a minute. So satisfying. So I'm nestling it right up to the sort of that existing little bulge line of the rubber trim. Cut it off. Folded that over. Team orders might make it first. All right, well that took maybe 10 minutes of absolute boredom for cameraman Rob, but you can see I've tucked a piece of insulation to thicken up along this groove, and then I've put a piece that runs along just under the lip of the piece that seals against the car, wrapped it around the corner, then I folded it all under, and then I put some between these metal mounting pegs. I infilled the area in between them, and then the bolts go through from the top. So the mirror part's done. So the last piece I need to do is the wind cheater that goes on the inside. And you might think, well, why would that matter? Well, this actually is the sealing surface between the part of the door frame and the car. So this is one of the things that does seal up the wind noise. And it has, as I've done on this other one already, and I've gone out and looked at the body of the car and see where it touches, there's a strip that should go on here if we're going to add a little extra contact surface. So let's get that fitted. And there we have it. So wind cheaters set up now, kind of corner to corner where it will contact on the inside. And that pretty much wraps up the refurbishment of one of the driver's side or on one of the mirrors. So all paint's rejuvenated. Everything's all ceramic coated now. The insulation, sound barrier, sealing stuff is all fixed up, and the mirror's all clean. So it's ready to go back on the car, which is going to be the next video that you'll find linked up here. Also down here, you're going to find my companion blog where I'm going to have links to these materials so that if you need to do the same thing, you can find them yourself, and any other tip I might have. And if you'd like to be automatically notified when the next video comes out in the series, please go ahead and subscribe and turn on notify, so that'll happen. And as always, am I crazy for doing all this by myself? Please go ahead and leave a comment down below. I love to read them and reply. Thanks for watching.